Okay, hello everybody. Hello everybody. Hello everybody. Mhm. Okay, on today's episode, we'll continue reading the books about a creature from Gili Island. Okay, finally, we'll read the chapter one. As usual, we will learn some new words about last day, yesterday. Okay, so first is beneath. Beneath, beneath, under, yeah, under, underneath, beneath, okay. Single, singular, single, single, are you single, 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 singular, single, 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 singular, sing, sing, singular, single, single, singular,
Singular.
singular. Okay, singular. Okay. Preceptive, precept, preceptive, 训诫性。preceptive, perception. What's your perception? Perception, preceptive. What's your perspective? Perspective, perspection. Perspective, what's your perspective? Okay. Preceptive, perception. 这个好像不太对。preceptive, perception. Okay. Preceptive, perception. What's your perspect? Precept, 规范啊，规范 the rule 的规范。Okay. The preceptive advice. The preceptive advice of the mentor guided the young man. Guided the young man. Perceptive. Huh? Preceptive. Preceptive, perception. 就是 perceptive. Perspective. Perception. Perceptive. Perception. Preceptive, the teacher's perspective. 老师的规则 Preceptive tongue. Preceptive tongue indicated she was laying down the rules. Laying down. Perceptive. Child was surprised perspective of for her. Surprisingly. Public perception of the new policy was mostly negative. Perceptive, perspective, perceptive, perception, preceptive, perception, perception, perspective. perceive 相关。天哪，这几个单词真的是给我搞混了。I was so confused about this word. Okay. Next one is delve into it at some depths. Delve into it at some depths. Okay. Put up with my periods of long absence. My long period of absence. Put up. 忍受。inevitable. inevitable.
Inevitable.
inevitable. 记住 meticulous 很搞笑的 meticulous 细致 meticulous 记住
Meticulous.
meticulous 记住 But one cannot harvest such a huge crop without dropping a few fees. Liability 可靠的 liable
Liable.
有责任的，这个记住。abuse 这个记不住 abuse no obtuse
Obtuse.
obtuse
Obtuse.
okay obtuse okay obtuse intimidate intimidate 微一下，还有 intimidate
Intimidate. Intimidate. Intimidate.
这个记住 threaten okay well let's read our today okay chapter 1 what is the Federal Reserve System? The answer may surprise you. It is not federal and there are no reserves. Federal 联邦 no federal and there are no reserves 也没有储备也没有联邦 reserve okay no federal no reserves furthermore the Federal Reserve banks are not even banks the key to this riddle 搞笑的 riddle 复杂的着迷的迷糊的 迷糊的 ，OK， 迷糊的 conundrum brain teaser puzzle 啊 puzzle riddle is to be found. The key to this riddle
Riddle.
is to be found not at the beginning of the story, but in the middle. Since this is not a textbook, we are not confined to a chronological structure. Confine 遵循 confine 遵循 confine 受限于局限于 confine OK confine and not confined to a chronological structure. The subject matter is not a curriculum curriculum
Curriculum.
curriculum 这我应该是能记住。To be mastered, but a mystery to be solved. So let us start where the action is. OK， 今天正式进入这个 The history of Federal Reserve Banks. Chapter 1. The journey to Jelly Island. The journey to Jelly Island. The secret meeting on Jelly Island is in Georgia, at which the Federal Reserve was conceived. Conceive 构想，孕育 conceive 天哪，记不住 receive conceive 记不住 conceive the birth of a banking culture to protect its members from competition. The strategy of how to convince Congress and convince 这个词应该是能记住常用 convince OK convince Congress and the public that this color was an agency of United States government. How can Congress and the public that the color was an agency of the United States government. Okay, the New Jersey, the New Jersey railway station was bitterly cold that night. Flurries of the year's first snow swirled around streetlights. 哇，这是一个文学的书吗？ Flurries of the year's first snow swirled around streetlights. Flurries of the year's first snow. 2002年的第一场雪 swirl around the streetlight. Flurries of snow danced gracefully in the moonlight, making the start of winter. The first snow flurries of the year made the city feel magical under the streetlight. November wind rattled roof panels above the track shed and gave a long, mournful sound among the rafters. 天哪，真的是一个文学作品吗？Rattled roof panel among rafters and gave a long, mournful sound among the rafters. The November wind howled through the band, creating a sense of desolation. As the wind swept through the rafters, its mournful sound mirrored the loneliness of the siren. It was approaching 10 p.m. Approaching, and the station was nearly empty, except for a few passengers scurrying to the board. The last southbound of the day. 真的是个文学作品。最近 approaching approach approaching
Approach.
southbound of the day. Station was nearly empty except for a few passengers squaring up to board, to board, the last thought of the day. The rain equipment was typically for the year of 1910. The real equipment was typically for that year of 1910, mostly chair cars that converted into sleepers with cramped upper and lower berths. For those with limited funds, coach cars were coupled to the front. They would take the brunt of the engine's noise and smoke that somehow always managed to seep through unseen cracks. A dinner car was placed between the sections as a subtle barrier between the two classes of travelers. By today's standards, the environment was drab. Chairs and mattresses were hard. Surfaces were mental and scared wood. Was mental or scared wood. Colors were dark green, gray. 这真的是个文学作品。
至少杜江不能。
They hurry to board the train and escape the heat of the wind. Few passengers noticed the activity at the far end of the platform. As gate seldom used at this hour of the night was a spectacular sight.
Spectacular.
Spec, 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 spectacular. Nudged against the end rear bumper was a long car that caused those few who saw it to stop and stare. Its gleaming back paint was accented with polished brass hand rails, nose frames, and filigrees. The shades were drawn, but through the open door one could see mahogany paneling, velvet drapes, plush armchairs, and well-stocked bars. Porters with white serving coats were busying themselves with routine chores. 这个好像这个单词挺长的。chore routine chore. And there was the distinct aroma of expensive cigars. Other cars in the station, before numbers on each end of distinguish them from their dull brothers, but numbers were not needed for this beauty. On the center of each side was a small black berry, but a single word, Dulwich. 阿尔德里奇，这真的是一个文学作品吗？是不是读错了 ？The name of Nelson 阿尔德里奇 ，Senator 哦，尼尔森阿尔德里奇 ，Aldrich Senator from Rhode Island was well known even in New Jersey by 1910. He was one of the most powerful men in Washington, D.C., and his private railway car often was seen at the New York and New Jersey rail terminals during frequent trips to Wall Street. Aldrich was far more than a senator. He was considered to be the political spokesman for big business. As an investment associate of JP Morgan, he had extensive holdings in banking, manufacturing, and public utilities. His son-in-law was John D. Rockefeller. Oh, his son-in-law was John D. Rockefeller Jr. 60 years later, his grandson Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller would become Vice President of the United States. Oh my goodness! 这句话终于讲到正题了，前面都是在铺陈这个阿尔德里奇。When Aldrich arrived at the station, there was no doubt he was the commander of the private car, wearing a long fur-clad coat, a silk top hat, and carrying a silver-tipped walking stick. He strode briskly down the platform with his private secretary Sheldon and a cluster of porters behind them, hauling assorted trunks and cases. A cluster of porters behind them, hauling assorted trunks and cases. 一群搬运工 cluster porters 搬运工 cluster porters a cluster 一群搬运工 porters behind them hauling all assorted trunks and cases assorted trunks and cases a group of porters hurried behind each struggling with heavy bags and trunks. The train station was bursting with porters hauling luggage for wealthy travelers. 又来各种描述。No sooner had the senator boarded his car when several more passengers arrived with similar collections of luggage. The last man appeared just moments before the final all aboard. He was carrying a shotgun case. While Aldrich was easily recognized by the most of travelers who saw him stride through the station, the other faces were not familiar. These strangers had been instructed to arrive separately to avoid the reporters, and should they meet inside the station, to pretend they did not know each other. After boarding the train, they had been told to use first names only so as not to reveal each other's identity. As a result of these precautions, not even the private car porters and servants knew the names of these guests. 事先警告 precautions. Not even the private car porters and servants knew the names of these guests. Back at the main gate, there was a double blast from the engine's whistle. Suddenly, the gentle sensation of motion, the excitement of a journey began. But no sooner had the train cleared the platform when it shuttled to a stop. Then, to everyone's surprise, it reversed direction and began moving toward the station again. Had they forgotten something? Was there a problem with the engine? A sudden lurch and the slam of couples gave the answer. They had picked up another car at the end of the train, possibly the mail car. In an instant, the forward motion was resumed, and all thoughts returned to the trip ahead and to the minimal comforts of the accommodations. And so, as the passengers drifted off to sleep that night to the rhythmic clicking of steel wheels against the rail, little did they dream that, riding in the car at the end of their train, were 7 men who represented an estimated 1/4 of the total wealth of the entire world. Oh my God, 1/4 of the total wealth of the entire world. This was the roster of our rich car at that night. Roster 乘客吗？嘉宾吗？ Roster 花名词哦。
roster,
Roster 啊 roster 什么两个啊 father roster roster 啊 roster OK roster 花名词挺有意思。Nelson W. Aldrich Republican whip in the Senate, chairman of the National Monetary Commission, business associate of JP Morgan, father-in-law of John D. Rockefeller Jr. Okay. Abraham P.H. Andrew, Assistant Secretary of the United Treasury 财政部首席 Assistant Secretary 美国财政部的助理部长 Secretary Assistant Secretary 副部长助理部长近期 Secretary Assistant Secretary of the United States Treasury oversees the implementation of fiscal politics. He was recently appointed Assistant Secretary to handle international financial relations. 财政部副部长助理部长 Frank A. Wildley, President of the Nation City Bank of New York, the most powerful of the bank at that time, representing William Rockefeller and the International Investment Banking House of Hong Kong Company. Henry Davidson, Senior Partner of JP Morgan Junior Senior 哇，高级的合作伙伴 JP Morgan Company. Charles Norton, President of JP Morgan's First National Bank of New York. Benjamin Strong, Head of JP Morgan's Bankers Trust Company, and Paul Womberg, a partner in Com Long Company, a representative of Rothschild banking dynasty in England and France, and brother to Max Womberg, who was head of the Womberg Banking Consortium in Germany and the Netherlands. Okay, well, JP Morgan 1, 2, 3, JP Morgan. Okay, or 6. in private correspondence between the author and the grantors. 6. The creature from Jade Island. The page 6, okay. Concentration of wealth. Concentration of wealth. 财富的集中 concentrate 啊 concentration
concentration,
centralization of control over financial resources was far advanced by 1910. In the United States, there were two main focal points of this control: the Morgan Group and the Rockefeller Group, JP Morgan Group and the Rockefeller Group, with each orbit was a maze of commercial banks, acceptance banks, and investment firms. JP Morgan and the Rockefeller. Within each orbit 轨道体系范围内 orbit With each orbit was a maze of commercial banks, acceptance banks, and investment firms. A maze of, okay, commercial banks 商业银行 acceptance banks 承兑银行货票 investment firms 商业银行票据对承兑 investment firms. Within the global financial systems lies the mazing of interconnected commercial banks, investment firms, and regular bodies. Regulatory bodies 监管机构 The complex structure of commercial and acceptance banks often confused newcomers to the industry. Okay. In Europe, the same process had proceeded even further and had coalesced into the Rothschild Group and Warburg Group. 这个是什么？这个是个什么机构 ？Warburg Group 是什么？公司？华平 Warburg 成立于1966年，那应该不是这个，这是Warburg Group。OK， 这样。是1946年成，这也不是这个，这是1910年成立的。 所以这个阶段应该是没有。Article appeared in the New York Times on May 3rd, 1931. Commission on the death of George Baker, one of Morgan's closest associates. They said 1/6 of the total wealth of the world was represented by members of JEKYLL Island Club. JEKYLL 这个发音。
JEKYLL.
JEKYLL Island Club. The reference was only to those in the Morgan Group members. It did not include the Rockefeller Group or European financiers. But all of these are combined. The previous estimates that 1/4 of the world's wealth was represented by those groups is possibly conservative.
Conservate.
Oh my god.
Conservative.
Conservative. In 1913, the year that the Federal Reserve Act became law, a subcommittee of the House Committee on Currency and Banking under the chairmanship of Asin Puju of Bologna completed its investigation into the concentration of financial power in the United States. Puju was considered to be a spokesman for the oil interests, part of the very group under investigation, and did everything possible to sabotage the hearings.这个有点专业，破坏听证会的。Did everything possible to sabotage the hearing. The opposition party did everything possible to sabotage the reform bill hearing. He was accused of trying to sabotage the hearings to protect his own interests.
Did everything possible to sabotage the hearings.
Sabotage. 天哪。
Sabotage.
Sabotage. Destroy. Damage.
Sabotage.
天哪，这上哪去 ？Sabotage. 哦。In spite of his efforts, however, the final report of the committee at large was devastating. 在他的努力下 in spite of his efforts, in spite of In spite of their lobbying efforts, the communist final report was devastating for the corporation. Its attempt to sway the investigating failed, and the committee final report left no room for doubt. Devastating.
Devastate.
Devastate. 记住 devastate. Devastate. OK， 还有一个 sabotage. Devastate. The committee is satisfied from the proof submitted that there is an established and well-defined identity and community of interest between a few leaders of finance, which has resulted in great and rapidly growing concentration of the control of money and credit in the hands of these few men. Under our system of issuing and distributing corporate securities, the investigating public does not buy directly from the corporation. The securities travel from the issuing house through middlemen to the investor. It's only the great banks or bankers with access to mainsprings of the concentrated resources made up of other people's money in the banks, trust companies, and life insurance companies, and with control of the machinery for creating markets and distributing securities, who have had the power to underwrite or guarantee the sale large-scale security issues. The men who, through their control over the funds of our railroads and industry companies, are able to direct where such funds shall be kept, and thus to create these great reservoirs of the people's money, are the ones who are in a position to tap those reservoirs for the ventures in which they are interested and to prevent their being tapped for purposes which they do not approve. When we consider also in this connection that into these reservoirs of money and credit there flow a large part of the reserves of the banks of the country, that they are also the agents and the correspondents of out-of-town banks in the loaning of their surplus funds in the only public money market of the country, and that a small group of men, their partners and associates, have now further strengthened their hold upon the resources of these institutions by acquiring large stock holdings therein, by representation on their boards, and through valuable patronage, we began to realize something of the extent of which this particular practical and effective domination and control over our greatest financial, railroad, and industry corporations have developed largely within the past 5 years, and that it is fraught with period to the welfare of the country. 天哪，这看的办的不懂。Such was the nature of the wealth and power represented by those 7 men who gathered in secret that night and traveled in the luxury of Senator Aldrich's private car. OK， 天哪，好了，可以了，今天就到这儿。今天有点抽象。今天确实有点抽象，50分钟，好，今天先到这儿吧，这有点太抽象了，得好好理解理解。这没有点背景知识，真的是读不懂。OK， page 7。page 7, OK. Goodbye. See you next time.